Watching this shift on celebrities overall, and there's always going to be entertainers. There's always going to be bards in modern society. I'm not anti-bard. I'm not anti-entertainment. But we have put entertainment up here on a pedestal while like essential things, don't have that. And I'm going to be honest, I always say that we're still responsible for our things. Just kind of like if you go to a normal, average, everyday job and then you see that same kind of nepotism that reflects how celebrities treat the overall body of people. I mean, it's still up to us to stop that kind of stuff on our level to an extent, because just because celebrities are corrupted, or at least most of them are, because there's actually some ones that are very humble people, and those are the ones I tend to like to follow, just because I enjoy their gratitude and they acknowledge that the fans are the reason they have it. Just like right now, the people who view this video and take something from it, thank you for coming over and enjoying the video I put out. It really means a lot. However, we tend to think that just because celebrities can get corrupted means we can't. And I think that's something I'm actually going to segue into afterwards. But I was watching a TikTok trend, and people are blocking celebrities left and right. And I think, honestly, this is the ultimate wake-up call that a lot of celebrities need. And I think it just kind of shows that, on a sense, we're not turning away from entertainers or entertainment completely. But when we see that the entertainers are in their own bubble and have their heads up here, you just tend to see people walk away from that. It could also be affecting, everywhere else on society, where if you see someone who's in that straight up plane of their own brand and they forget that, yeah, maybe they do some things that make other people uncomfortable. And then anytime someone points the finger at them, they're like, oh, you're a hater, right? I think people are starting to understand that behavior is just kind of not acceptable on all sorts of levels. But with this celebrity unblock, unfollow thing, it reminds me of this one Sam Neill movie, Merlin. I don't know if you ever watched it, but they made us watch it as a kid. And the bad guy at the end, the way they defeat it, it's almost like this celebrity. They just kind of stopped acknowledging the existence, and eventually she faded away from it. It was an interesting time because we spent so much time sending these hate messages I've never done them, but I've seen some people do it. Send these hate comments towards Instagram and stuff and just continue to give their energy to this beast. Especially whether you're engaging with content on a positive scale or a negative scale, you're still engaging with it. And the more you spit hate at it, the more you're feeding the ego of it. And the only way you shrink the ego is if you just completely cut off contact. When you deal with a narcissist, it's the only way you could win. I've had friends who just didn't want to listen to reason and they still wanted to get on their destructive path. So I held a mirror to their behavior and I got the best result, because you can't meet logic with, you can't meet, childlike behavior with rational, thought out thinking. You can't reason with unreasonable people, and you can't force people who are in a bubble to look what it's like outside of that bubble unless you kind of take away their strength, which is your attention. So when I saw this, I was blown away by it, and I was like, you know what? I think people finally understand it. You can't let people bend your ego. You can't let people do that, and people are starting to wake up to that fact where they're just kind of like, you know what? I'm not letting this happen anymore. Our economy is in shambles. Normal, everyday people, our families are down the drains. People aren't really looking out for each other. And to an extent, I think we got to take a little bit of responsibility. But the amount of inequality that has been thrown on the elites while everyone else has kind of just fallen flat. It's like if you have a best friend who is very hyper successful, gets a big brand deal, and you're happy for him, right? You're happy for him. You don't hate him then. But what if he comes over to your place and starts just disrespecting you and your friends and everything around you, and then when you point the finger at them, they say, you're just jealous that I'm successful. You see the parallel over there? Where it's just kind of like, okay, you know what? We get this now. You're on your own brand. You got this main character syndrome, and obviously the celebrities have this main character syndrome. And this might be the final, break that they need to realize, maybe I don't know what's best for the normal everyday person. Maybe just because I have a 1,000 brand deals and I'm rich and I, have all these clothing lines and everything like that. Maybe I should look after the consumer. Just like as a content creator, I shouldn't be spitting on my fans or talking down on them or anyway, because they're the ones that keep this machine rolling. But the human ego is amazing. How have we gotten this far? But maybe this might wake them up. Am I saying that I want celebrities gone altogether? No. I don't want celebrities gone altogether. We need entertainers. I think that escapism in some senses is good. However, it's just kind of been very apparent that they've gotten too big for their own heads. And maybe they need to be knocked down a peg or two, non-violently, obviously, because it's a non-violent solution. That's what I like about it, but it kind of just cuts off their source of power. It cuts off their way of doing things, the way they've done things for a long time. And hard times really bring out real situations, and people are realizing things are getting very serious. Where have our values as a society gone? Now, I will say one thing, although I do think this is a step in the right direction moving forward, we got to really watch what we're doing too, because otherwise the cycle repeats. You ever watch that show? Well, actually, it's a book and it's a movie, Animal Farm, where they get rid of the farmers and they take over, but eventually they become just what the farmers were. That's what I fear about this moving forward. Because, although you could point the finger at the obvious elephant in the room, your ego might grow to the point where you're the elephant in the room. I remember I had this friend who I was trying to help one time, and his ego got so out of whack because I was that one guy that he was trying to help. And long story short, he turned on me. He tried every method to embarrass me, to put me down, because I had helped him from a bottom pit. The guy was basically in a mental institution because he got treated by society so bad. And then what happened was, after I helped him out of that hole, he completely turned on me, started talking down on me, and then one day I had enough. And I stood my ground, put my foot down, and we don't talk anymore because I threw everything back in his face. I tried to help someone in need. It hurt. It hurt me, and then I ended up, embarrassing him. But then I got a little too big for my britches and got an ego trip myself. And then eventually I got embarrassed by someone because I was hurt deep down inside. And I had some demons brewing. And you know what? I needed to get stopped in my tracks. I'll never forget that. Because I said, you know what? I might have slain a monster, but I got to make sure I don't become a monster. Because yes, celebrities all over the place, right, are, they're in their own little world. They're in their own little narcissistic bubble. And they've hurt us, the normal everyday people. Not directively, but it's been a side effect, so to speak, of the way they've been living in excess for so long. And we have every right to feel resentful. We have every right to, tell them, hey, we don't appreciate how you've been holding out on everybody else, where you guys have your own little, small club. But just because we have woken up to how pompous that group is, now it's time we fix the corruption in our own hearts. What is it that makes us dark people? Because I've actually seen that at normal everyday jobs. Corrupt employers, corrupt everyday, tradespeople treating their workers poorly and everything like that. So it's not just on a celebrity thing, but it is something to get to think, because the reason we need to make it a fairer society, and the reason we do need to fight the darkness in our own hearts and make sure we don't become what we were fighting, is because otherwise we're not stopping the cycle. The only thing starts all over again. Because the step of blocking and ignoring celebrities is done, and it's going even further, but let's not become what we were fighting. Peace out.